And the latest on the trial of people accused in the November 2017 murder of a Jones County man.
Plus, how an Atlanta medical center closing impacts patients suffering with sickle cell.
Well, good morning. Happy Monday. Hopefully you had a great weekend. You're looking live over downtown Macon this morning. It is 6:30 on this September 26th. I'm Caitlin Heck.
And I'm Juanya Reese this morning. We're now dealing with Hurricane Ian, so let's go ahead and get on over to our meteorologist, Alex Forbes.
Yeah, that's right. The 5 a.m. advisory was upgraded to hurricane status. I'll show you that here in just a moment. But first, if you're stepping outside early this morning, you're probably running into some fairly nice temperatures. 62 here in Macon, still dark outside. The sunrise comes your way about 7:20. 64 in Warner Robins, 63 in Dudley, 63 in Dublin, 65 in Crawford County, and some more 60s down to the south as well. I think there's something up with that east wind sensor. Something tells me it's not 55 there right now. But what is correct is this: Hurricane Ian, winds of 75 miles an hour, upgraded here with the 5 a.m. advisory to hurricane status, continuing to move towards the northwest at about 14 miles an hour, and going to continue to intensify now as a major hurricane off of the coast of Florida, and then potentially coming inland somewhere near the Big Bend region between, say, Fort Myers and Panama City. But the general consensus is that Big Bend region, and then into central Georgia, potentially the center into central Georgia along this white line. This would be overnight Friday into Saturday. But first, today here in central Georgia, look for temperatures into the 80s. 87 is what I'm going with for the high temperature. I'll show you more on Ian coming up here in a few minutes. And don't forget, you can download the 13WMAZ app from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, or just scan that QR code right there on your screen. You can track the tropics right along with us. Everything you need to know about Hurricane Ian. It's a great resource to have.
Well, thank you, Alex. 3 men head to trial today for the November 2017 murder of a Jones County man.
We're also following a deadly crash caused by a wrong-way driver.
And what we know right now about a weekend triple shooting in Macon. Let's catch you up on your top morning headlines.
So let's go ahead and start with the 3 men heading to trial for murder today. They're accused of the November 2017 killing of a Jones County man nearly 5 years ago. That's when someone shot and killed 24-year-old Marquise Hardwick in his home at Northside Villa Apartments. Within weeks, Gray police charged 3 people with felony murder. That's Cameron Banks, Justarius Canty, and Jaqueline Clark. His mother, Sherry Green, says all 3 were childhood friends of Hardwick's. She says their family has waited for years to get justice. Jury selection for the 3 men is scheduled to start this morning before the judge in Jones County Superior Court. 3 other people are facing charges for hindering arrests in Hardwick's killing.
Well, this morning we're continuing to follow a weekend accident that left 2 men dead. The Washington County Sheriff's Office says a man driving on the wrong side of the road caused Saturday night's accident. Sheriff Joel Cochran says Bryant Ware of Statham was driving his pickup truck in the wrong direction on the Fall Line Freeway when he ran head-on into Hassan Glasgow of Sandersville. Both drivers died from their injuries. Cochran says the crash happened on Highway 88 at the Jefferson County line. The Bibb Sheriff's Office continues to look for who shot 3 people in Macon over the weekend. Bibb Sheriff's Office says the shooting happened around 1:20 Saturday morning on Blunt Street. That's near Houston Avenue. Investigators say someone shot 3 people at a gathering along that road. The Sheriff's Office says none of the witnesses saw who was shooting. But if you have any information, you can call Macon Regional Crime Stoppers. That number is 1-877-68-CRIME. Again, 1-877-68-CRIME.
It's now 6:33. Let's get a check of your news from across the state. Governor Brian Kemp ordered the emergency activation of the state's operations center to prepare for the potential impacts from Hurricane Ian later on this week. The governor says he wants the state prepared for whatever the storm brings to our state. The operations center is used by state, federal, local, and volunteer agencies to respond to disasters or emergencies. The center includes the state's 24-hour warning system. In a tweet last night, Kim said, "We are leaving nothing to chance and will closely monitor the storm's evolution throughout the week." All right, now this is a really sad story. A suspect is locked up this morning after Gwinnett police say he stabbed his 4-year-old nephew. Police say when they got there, they found the boy with a stab wound to his abdomen yesterday morning. Antonia Balesta is now charged with aggravated assault, first-degree cruelty to children, and possession of a knife in the commission of a felony. Detectives say they believe drug use caused Balesta to attack the boy, although they're still investigating this morning. The suspect was still inside the home and they arrested him there. The child is in stable condition at the hospital and police say he is expected to make a full recovery. Definitely some good news with that story. Well, Atlanta Medical Center closes its doors in just over a month, leaving a gap in care for patients throughout Metro Atlanta. Now patients like Kadeem Harrison worry about the quality of care declining.
3 hours. I've heard of 4, even 5 hours wait time in the emergency room. And that was before the closure.
Kadeem Harrison serves as an advocate with the Sickle Cell Foundation of Georgia. He says he's trying to help people with sickle cell work on their care plans ahead of the closing, but he's concerned that just won't be enough. Sickle cell disease can cause debilitating pain and other health complications. Harrison worries sickle cell patients will have to deal with longer wait times, putting them at risk for organ failure. It's now 6:35. Right now at Rose Hill Cemetery, candles started becoming a form of vandalism. Rose Hill preservationist Joey Fernandez says there's about 50 candles here. You see them right there, but he usually finds up of 100 all around the gravesite. Fernandez says a small group of people have been breaking into the cemetery at night and burning candles on 24 different graves. He says when left in the sun, the smallest amounts of wax melts and it leaves behind huge oil stains on the stones and markers, which takes hours, if not days, in order to clean up. Alrighty then, at 6:36 a.m., the Bibb County School District is hosting an educator job fair today. They hope to hire teachers, paraprofessionals, and substitutes.
The job fair is today at the district's central office building on Mulberry Street. Lasts from 2 to 7. To apply for a position ahead of time, just go to the school district's website. Well, as we track Hurricane Ian, the Red Cross and Macon Bibb's Emergency Management Agency want you to be prepared for whatever impact we could see here in central Georgia. They're offering a course on how to build and support public shelters during a storm or a disaster situation. The training prepares you to help people who seek shelter in Macon Bibb, as hundreds did back during Hurricanes Irma and Matthew. They'll learn how the shelter operates and how to work in one. The class is this Wednesday, the 28th, from 1 to 5 at Macon Bibb's Government Center. Anyone is welcome, but you do need to register online. Well, some people who live in East Macon say that they are paying too much for their water. Wednesday, neighbors will get together to talk about ways to reduce those costs. Macon Bibb Water Authority District 1 member Dr. Anissa Jones will also be there. This is happening the 29th at Mount Moriah Baptist Church.
Our junior journalists love surprising your top teachers, so be sure to start sending in your nominations. Students can do that by writing us a letter or email. You can send those letters to 1314 Gray Highway, Macon, Georgia 31211. Or you could email us at myteacherisTops@13WMAZ.com. Remember, you can also send us a video on the 13WMAZ app. Make sure to include your name, your teacher's name, and what school you attend. Be sure to get a parent to help you upload that video, and our JJs might just surprise your teacher next.
Well, it's time to party like it's your birthday, because for Willard Henderson, it's not too hard. He just celebrated his. We're giving him a heartfelt 100 shout out. He turned 100 years old on Saturday. Wow. His family says he's a World War II veteran in Marianna, Florida. Well,
during his birthday weekend, he celebrated with family, friends, and the community. He is the uncle of Ramona Wilder from Lizella. Thank you so much for sharing this photo with us, and we hope that you had a wonderful birthday. Don't forget, we want to know who's celebrating 100 or over birthdays in your life. If that's you or just someone you know who's a centenarian, send in a photo with their name, where they're from, and a little about them.
You can text all of that information to the number that's right there on your screen, 478-752-1309. And you might just get a shout out right here on 13 WMAZ Warning, because you know what? You certainly deserve it. All right, the time is now 6:38. Of course, the big story of the day is tracking Ian and the potential impacts we could see here.
Exactly. And I mean, we were talking about it a little bit earlier, Alex, before the show, you know, between last week and today, the cone has shifted so much. But I think one thing has remained the same. We need to, you know, remain observant of what's going on.
Exactly.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I'll show you something here in just a minute and how that forecast has changed from last week to now. You might remember last week we were saying Monday's the day. Monday's going to be the day that we know a lot more information than we know now. And that is certainly the case. I'll show you that here in just a moment. But first, looking live over Lawrence County this morning, we've got temperatures in the 60s, 62 in Macon, 64 in Warner Robins, 63 in both Dublin and in Perry, and more 60s across the board, 63 in Monroe County, Byron, 64 in Hawkinsville, and down towards the south, I still don't think that 55 is right there in Eastman. As we head through the day today, a cold front's going to slide on through. Not going to see any rain from it, but temperatures into the mid 80s this afternoon, and then we begin to cool off down into the 70s tonight on into tomorrow. That's a nice start. How about mid to low 50s, feeling like how Saturday morning did across central Georgia. A great morning, and then Tuesday afternoon back into the 80s. Notice these clouds down here towards the south taking on an arcing feature. That is Ian making its way closer to our area. So Ian going to be coming in with some cooler air. Here comes the cold front down into the 70s by Wednesday. Here comes Ian with high temperatures potentially in the 60s by Friday. Not going to be a nice day outside though. Winds of 75 miles an hour as of the 5 a.m. advisory here on Hurricane Ian, moving towards the northwest at about 14 miles an hour because of that hurricane warnings in effect now for the western shores of Cuba, a hurricane watch now on the west coast of Florida. So yes, the United States is now beginning to see alerts from the storm as it pulls towards the north, expected to continue to rapidly intensify into Category 4 status by the time we talk tomorrow morning here in central Georgia. Going to continue to move along the coast there Thursday into Friday, and then potentially a tropical storm in here by the time we get to Saturday. Anywhere right along this white line from central Alabama, south of Montgomery, across Columbus, through central Georgia, across Savannah and into the Atlantic is where this storm could be Saturday at 2 a.m. as a tropical storm after making landfall as a hurricane somewhere between Panama City or so and down towards, say, the Fort Myers area. But as I play the models forward on this, you'll see a general consensus here. This Big Bend region, very close to the Tallahassee area, is where a majority of the models is taking this storm inland. So almost due north here through the Gulf of Mexico, which still is not good news for the folks along the west coast, because that means they have a persistent onshore wind, which means storm surge. Also watching to see which side of the storm we end up on. If it makes this track here on the west side, we could be looking at more impacts because we would be on the dirty side of the storm. Or say if it were to follow this purple line or even this magenta line, it would put us on the better side of the storm. So not necessarily a good side, but the better side of the storm. Now, you might remember last week we were looking at this graphic. These are the different ensemble models with the GFS. You can see it's really come into, the Tampa area over towards Pensacola in terms of a landfall spot. If we compare this to where we were this time Thursday morning, the idea of landfall has come into focus, and you can see it's really, Panama City over towards Fort Myers, as I was alluding to. But last week we were working with that blue circle. This morning we're working with this white circle. So a lot more information, a lot more we know, and enough to say that we are looking at likely impacts of wind and rain in central Georgia beginning either late Thursday night or early Friday morning, lasting through about Saturday afternoon as we get into the latter part of the week. So 87 today, mostly sunny, windy at times thanks to that cold front. Here's how it shapes up on the 7-day. A fairly nice stretch of days for the next few days. This cold front slides on through. Once we get to the end of the week, this is when we begin watching Ian. Friday is going to be the day with the heaviest impacts. I don't want to get into specifics in terms of wind gusts or rainfall totals because those are going to change a lot between now and then. But we are fairly confident in that we will see wind and rain here in central Georgia by the time we get to Friday and then begin to clear out as we head through the weekend. A 40% chance of rain there on Saturday. That's if Ian lingers around. Looking much better for Sunday with a high temperature of about 79 and partly cloudy skies.